Guys, we're going to have a great episode today. Before we get into that, I want to thank you guys, the listeners, for all the support that you get. I want to remind you that you can reach out to me on Instagram. If you don't follow it at JScottOutdoors. Feel free to send me a DM. I love corresponding with you guys about your hunts and any questions that you might have. We're going to have a great episode. I also want to thank the sponsors of this podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com. Cody Nelson, my friend of 20 plus years. He's the glassing guru, the optics authority. He's the optics manager over there at GoHunt.com at the gear shop. You can reach out directly for info or for sales at 702-847-8747. You can also email him at optics@gohunt.com. He also gets texts from my listeners on his cell phone, 602-399-3699. Feel free to send him a text if you're looking for a certain tripod or binocular or spotting scope or rifle scope, anything to do with optics. Give Cody Nelson a call or a text. I want to thank GoHunt.com also and remind you guys that the GoHunt maps, the mobile app, mapping apps, are now available on iTunes and Android. They have real 3D. It's awesome 3D mapping on these mobile apps. You can get a free trial, a 7-day free trial, by going to gohunt.com/JScott. You can also check in the show notes. I'll have it linked up. You get a 7-day free trial. That gives you access to everything in the Insider, as well as let you look at the mapping apps both on the desktop and on your phone. You can also sign up by going to gohunt.com and just use JScott, and that's going to save you $50. You're actually going to get a GoHunt gift card, $50 GoHunt gift card when you sign up. So go check it out. Also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. That's the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. Go to KUIU.com to order the gear right there that are direct-to-consumer model. So that's the only place you can get the gear, as well as phonescope.com. Use the JScott21 promo code, and you're going to get a 10% discount. Guys, let's get right to this episode. And again, thanks for listening. Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today I've got my friend Parker Fales of Clay Bundy Outfitters on the line. Parker, how you doing?
Hey, doing awesome, Jay. Appreciate you reaching out and being able to be on with you today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Before we get to talking about Arizona deer and sheep, congratulations, you guys. You and your wife just had your first child and had a beautiful baby boy, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. It's been it's definitely been a change of pace and changes your life a little bit, but it's been good. I feel super blessed to have a healthy baby.
That's fantastic. That's great. Last time we were together, you actually were with me in Mexico looking at Coues deer, and we finished the season with a bang and killed that big giant deer that Todd Crawford killed, and that was kind of fun to have you there for as many big mule deer kills and mule deer that you've been around. It was kind of cool to get where you could see a big Coues. We're going to talk about mule deer, obviously, and desert sheep here in a minute, and the units you hunted. But I do have to ask, like, when you saw Todd's buck, big frame deer, what was your thoughts? I mean, compared to the big mule deer you see, did it still get you excited to see a buck of that caliber?
You know what? So when I saw it, and I'm trying to remember who made the comment. One of the guys, I think it was Preston Mercer, he made the comment, Parker, you ought to like that deer, that Coues. It looks like a mule deer.
I did. It's frame. I mean, it's boxy yeah. Frame. It looked just like a muley.
Exactly. And so when I first picked up the buck over on that hillside in my 15s, and I thought the same. That was the first words out of my mouth. That freaking thing looks like a mule deer. So when I knew it looked like that, I was like, then it's big. Yeah. But it was really cool for me and humbling for me to be there with you guys that know what a big Coues deer is. And I almost feel like with a mule deer, like a giant mule deer, a 250 mule deer, I can completely appreciate it because I completely understand what that means and what that is. And I don't know what the Coues, if I could fully grasp what
What
I
you
was
saw.
holding,
Yes.
yeah, and what
Yeah.
I was looking at. But to be able to watch you guys and listen to you guys, it was just so cool because it was, for a couple of the guys, and they're, the kids that grew up hunting in Arizona, hunting coos, it was the biggest coos they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And so it was super cool for me to be able to be a part of that. And, this is only my second season hunting coos deer, and to already to be able to see and put my hands on a deer like that, it's just a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. Parker, we've got a deadline coming up here on the 14th of June for Arizona, mainly deer and bighorn sheep, both of which you guide. Want to get your take on the way things look up on the strip. Your primary focus for deer is obviously up on 13A and 13B, and get your take on what things are looking like.
Yeah. So going back, I want to go back and start from last year, when we were hunting in the rifle hunt in November, out where I was hunting out on 13B. It literally looked like a golf course when we were hunting out there. And my hunter, he couldn't believe how green it was. He's like, this doesn't even feel like we should be hunting mule deer right now. It feels like it's early spring, first of summer. It was so green because those monsoons hit late, and the green just popped up everywhere. Fast forward to this year, I feel like the deer went into the rut and went into the winter in good shape because of that feed. And of course, last year was a terrible year. Maybe
Antler growth wise, right?
yes, antler growth wise. Yep, antler growth wise, last year was maybe one of the worst years there's been. And so going into this year where the deer came through the winter, I feel like they came through the winter healthy. We did get a little bit of early spring moisture, more than we did last year for sure. And we got some moisture in April, but we didn't get anything in May, which hurts. May seems to be a critical month. And so what my thoughts are, and I know, talking with Clay, my thoughts are is we're expecting an average year at best, to be an average year at this point, which for an average year on the strip is still pretty dang good. And going with that, I've talked to a lot of guys that have hunted strip for a long time, a lot longer than I have, and they've never seen back-to-back terrible years. And so I'm expecting a little bit of a rebound. I don't think it's all dark and gloomy like maybe some of the others. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes maybe our expectations on the strip get skewed a little bit. For example, 2019. 2019 was not an average year. That was a above average year. And I feel like sometimes people get twisted into thinking that's what the strip is. And it's not. That was an anomaly. That was just a bang up year on the strip. And so sometimes I feel like our expectations get a little bit skewed on stuff like that.
Sure, for sure. Now, so May was dry, but what you're saying is last year during the hunt, when the rut just started, when the season ended, those deer had good feed. They had good feed going into the winter, and then a little bit of spring green up and a little bit of moisture in April. Not good in May, but is there any part of you that thinks, if we could get some late shower or some early showers here in June, that it would maybe surprise you and be better than average? Or do you feel like by the time potentially end of June, early July rains might hit, it's too late to really do anything?
I think June can help, but it's almost too late. I really feel like April and May are the most critical months, particularly May. And that's, looking like in 2019, we got pounded in May. We actually got snow on the strip in May. And so I think this, whatever moisture we can get here in June is definitely going to help. It could maybe put it just a hair above average, but I don't think it's going to be a banner year. I think we're looking at an average year on the strip. But one thing me and Clay have talked about, and I know I've talked to you about before, is it seems like these deer, especially these younger deer, these 4-year-old, 5-year-old deer that just have the genetics to be incredible. It almost seems like after a dry year, if you can get a little bit of moisture, the next year they can just completely explode.
Do you feel like there's some bucks that in that age class, in that 4-5 range, that kind of were let's, for lack of a better term, nothings last year, and they just, no one even paid attention to them? That all of a sudden, one more year, because it was so droughty last year, they're almost unrecognizable this year?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And that's what we saw. I refer to 19 again because it was so special. But it's like Shane Roten killed a 270-inch deer with us, and it was a 5-year-old deer. And the year prior, it was a 190 deer. And so some of these deer are just so special that they will still, they'll still put it on, and what they could put on is scary. But average years on the Strip are still pretty dang good. 2017, man, there was still like 5 or 6 bucks over 250 on the Strip, and I don't know if I quite expect that. I don't know if the age class on the Strip right now is going to be able to do that, but I still think there's going to be some big deer to hunt. Okay,
a new thing this year, new to everyone, is you can't use trail cameras anymore on the Strip. In your opinion, do you think, let's say in a 5-year time horizon window, do you think 5 years from now the age class on the Strip will be higher or lower than it is right now?
I think the age class will be higher. I do. And it's just because cameras are so dang effective. And, there's some people that claim, oh, we don't use them that much, or this deer was found without a camera. But almost every deer that's killed is, so they'll have a live video of a deer, and they said, no, live video is so much better than trail cam pictures. Well, they knew where to look for that deer because of a trail cam picture. And so anytime you take away, where a lot of these outfitters were running, 300 to 500 cameras, anytime you take away that much information, it's going to put a dent in your effectiveness. I don't care how good of a hunter you are. I don't care how hard you hit it. There's not a better tool to locate deer than a trail camera on the Arizona Strip. And so with that, there is going to be some deer. There's going to be some deer that have never been seen, or that are never seen, that die of old age, which I don't know how to feel about. I like the fact that old deer are able to get old, but I hate the fact of thinking of a 300-inch deer dying of old age and his horns just rotten
having
out
a
on the
squirrel
Strip. Yeah, instead of somebody enjoying them. And so I'm kind of torn on that, but I do think because of the effectiveness of trail cameras and locating deer, I think with that, the age class will it'll bump up.
Now, you and Clay have the raffle hunter that can hunt until August 15th or 14th, I believe. Yep. And then you also have the governor's tag hunter, the auction hunter, that starts the following day. So you guys are kind of thrown right into the fire of, having the high profile hunts and hunters. And, it's kind of you guys are going to be somewhat the guinea pigs of like doing it old school. I mean, before, you've been around cameras pretty much probably your whole hunting career, whereas Clay, he did a lot of the stuff on the Strip, obviously way before cameras. I'm sure in your camp, you guys, have a strategy and have a plan, to find these deer. But it's going to be different not having the cameras, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you look pre-camera days on the Strip or anywhere in Arizona, and the statewide tags, you weren't getting these astronomical numbers like we've been accustomed to, maybe the last 10 years. And that's just what happens with cameras and such a special place is it like a 240-inch deer is a giant deer. And when you have cameras that tell you, well, there's a 250 over here, you don't kill the 240, you go hunt the 250. And you're not going to have that luxury anymore. So you're going to have to go hunt and kill the biggest deer you know about, doing it, doing it old school, and especially if you're trying to do it right and play by the rules, which we hope everybody will.
Sure.
There's always a few outliers that maybe won't, and that,
you can't control that, but I mean,
you can't control that. Yep.
Don't you think that, with you guys being local and you guys spending so much time there, and, Clay, virtually born and raised there and grown up his whole, every waking hour there, don't you think that gives you guys and your guide service kind of a leg up on a lot of them in the fact that you guys are there all the time?
I like to think so. But we know that the Strip and hunting giant deer can humble you in a hurry. And so, we're gonna work our butts off. We're gonna grind, and we're gonna kill the biggest deer we know about, which in the end is hopefully good enough. And
yep.
I think that's all we can do, and all we can, we expect a lot out of ourselves. And so I think that's as much as we can expect out of ourselves as well.
Sure. So let's talk specifically 13A, 13B. You were on both hunts last year. Talk a little bit, briefly here about A and B. What might be left? Do you think 13B's age class got pounded down more than A? Do you think A's, potentially going to be better? What are you thinking this year?
So that's exactly where I'd start, Jay. Is I think the age class on A is a little bit better than B right now. Just being that some of the country to hunt on A is not hunter friendly, and so a few more deer have slipped through and been able to get some age on them. So I would say the age class on A is a little bit deeper. But on the other hand, I think there is some very special deer on 13B right now that are young deer. That could be special at a young age. I think they were 3 or 4 year olds last year, and they're the type of deer that could be special at 5 years old. And so it's kind of a catch-22. You have more options on 13B. There's more deer. There's more huntable country, and without cameras, hunters aren't going to be so concentrated. So you could be hunting a giant deer virtually all to yourself. And 13B or 13A, the deer are a little bit more concentrated in areas where you don't have as much area to get away and have a deer to yourself, but you might be hunting a bigger, older age class deer, if that makes sense.
Sure. I believe the numbers in both units have been dropped on the rifle hunt a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe both have been dropped.
Yeah, quite a bit.
How do you think that drop is, going to affect the actual hunt and the quality of the hunt in both A and B?
I think it's going to help for sure. I think it's going to help the quality of the hunt maybe more than anything. Anytime you can be without people all over you, playing a cat and mouse game, I think it's a better experience. And so I think for the lower tag numbers, that's what it's going to do. And they were cut significantly. I think 13A was cut down to 35 rifle tags, I believe, and B was down to 65. And so, which is about 20 tags below what each of those units have been, which that's a pretty good cut. So I think it's going to be good for deer and for hunters alike.
How do you think we've been talking primarily about the rifle hunts, but now you take out cameras, and so much of the archery hunting success is sitting water on areas where you guys have had cameras and kind of know what bucks are coming in. How do you think? I think there'll be more of an impact on the archery hunt than the rifle. Tell me if you think I'm right or if you disagree.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's why for the last 10 years, the archery hunt has been arguably one of the best hunts on the Strip. If you could get the tag, when you have these cameras and you know when deer are hitting and what water they're hitting, you can be pretty effective as a hunter when you know all that. And chuck cameras don't kill deer, but they do, And so when you take that away from an archery hunter, That's going to make it tough. I mean, you've got to locate a buck in an area, and you think you know where he's hitting water. You can try to, you can sit that water and hope that you're right and play your cards there. And you have your spot and stock, but you're going to be, checking tracks on pond, and it could be a giant track. Well, on the strip, it could be a giant 9-year-old forking horn with 8-inch bases,
Right.
And so it definitely, it is going to make the archery hunt. It's going to make it exciting, and it's going to make it a challenge for sure.
The one thing, I've been a proponent of keeping the cameras and maybe coming up with a season or something if they had to do something. I'm against the ban. I don't even use them, but I'm against the ban. Just from a wildlife management standpoint, I think it's been pretty effective, but it's done and we're not talking about that anymore. But one thing I do think is I think that success on the archery hunt will be less over years period of time, not just this season. I think over the next 5 years. I guess where I'm going with this is it seemed like with the cameras, archers were able to kill some of those high-end bucks. I think some of those bucks are probably going to slip through, which I think over time, I think it's going to make that rifle hunt a little bit better. And some of those bucks, the archers were pretty dang effective because that season was pretty long, and with cameras and with as dry as it is up there, they were able to whack those bucks pretty good. Exactly. I honestly think there'll be 2, 3, 4, 5 bucks a year that normally would have gotten killed that will slip through, and I think overall, in a couple years, that's going to make a difference.
Absolutely. No, you hit it right on the head. You're exactly right, Jake. That's what's going to happen.
Okay. Any last minute, if you were talking to deer hunters right now, what you'd tell them, and then I want to ask you some stuff about sheep.
Yeah. You know what? It's hunting the Arizona Strip is special, and it's hard. Everybody's waiting for their chance, and it is hard to get that tag. And so, I just don't know how, if you're not a max point holder and how you're not putting in. You've got to put in. And even on an average year or slightly below average year, the Arizona Strip is the best place to hunt and kill a giant mule deer in the West, bar none, in my opinion. And so if you're having any thoughts or questions, you can feel free to reach out to me or Clay. You can hit us on Instagram, and we can kind of talk you through what we think. And but anyways, there's still going to be some big deer to hunt, and there's going to be some big deer killed this year.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about Desert Bighorn, and maybe go through a couple of the units that you guys like. I know that 13B, 13B North, they actually added a tag, which, correct me if I'm wrong too, but I don't have the regs right in front of me, but I think they added a tag, and it's been kind of struggling in there, so it's surprising to see that they added a tag there.
Yes, 13A North has been struggling. Those sheep kind of feed off of the Zion unit in Utah.
You're saying 13B North, right?
Or sorry, I'm talking 13A North. Yeah. You're talking 13B North.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so 13B North has been struggling. And so, I don't know. 13B North right now, it's one of the units that could still hold a sleeper, and I think there's still some big rams to be had. There's rams that move in and out of there from Utah off the Pine Valley, and so you get sheep that are interstate sheep that are crossing right there, in which there's some big sheep that are on the Pine Valley that could very well end up in Arizona or vice versa.
Sure.
And so I still think, as far as the northern units go up on the Strip, 13B North would be one of your better options, where there are more tags, have a better chance to pull your tag.
What about some of the other units you guys hunt there?
So then 13A North, which is what I started talking about, we took a hunter in there last year, and he killed a great ram. And there's some good sheep to be had in 13A North. Those sheep do feed off the Zion, which is what I was saying. And those sheep have been struggling in Utah. They've been sick, overhunted, and so in turn that has hurt that unit. But it is a one tag unit, so if you draw it, you have that unit to yourself, which we just had a lot of fun with that last year. And then you move on over to 12B East. It has really been coming on strong. I know last year there was a couple big sheep killed off of 12B East, and that population there seems to be thriving right now. And it's a multi-tag unit, so I would be I think, so if I'm talking my own application, I'm going to be putting in for 12B East on my application. And then you have 13B South, which we have a lot of experience there as well. It's a tough hunt, very remote. It's a one tag unit, so only residents can get into it. But the opportunity for a big ram is there. I know, like last year, Clay picked up a deadhead on that unit on 13B South. That was a mid 170s ram, and he'd been dead for close to a year, so who knows how much he's dried up. But he was a giant ram, which you can get sheep moving out of the premier units of Nevada into that unit in Arizona. And so you have the opportunity, if you get that tag, you've got to expect to work your guts out, and it's going to be a tough hunt. You're not going to see a ton of sheep, but you may just run into a giant.
Great. Good. What else don't we have?
Then you have 12B East, or 12B and 13A and 12A. Yes. And that unit's tough. Where we did run cameras there last year, there was actually a couple pretty dang good sheep that popped up. And they were popping up on where we were looking for deer. And so I think if you get that tag, you're looking at, you're going to be looking to kill a 160 to 165 type ram.
Okay.
And so, if you don't want to wait for some of these other premier units, that's not a bad option either. And a couple of those rams that were on camera, I mean, they're beautiful rams. I'd be tickled with one.
Awesome. Well, looks like you're going to have a busy summer with all your scouting that you've got for these tags, and you're going to be putting some miles in and glassing and doing you guys' thing. I'm anxious to see how you guys do. I think you're going to do great, and I think the old school tactics, some of the Clay's going to pull stuff out of his hat that you probably as a youngster never thought about, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be good for you. You're going to be like, what the heck are you doing? And he's going to say, well, I'm dragging this tree branch over this tank so I can start tracking like I used to.
Yep, exactly. And I am excited. Like you said, cameras have been around. I'm young. They've been around my whole life. And so I'm excited to see what it's like without them, and to see, I think it's just going to make us better hunters. And so we're excited. We're going to give it all we can. We're getting geared up, ready to go. And we're going to give it all we got and see where we fall.
Awesome. Well, I think you're going to do well. It's always great having you on the podcast. I always love having you down in Mexico as well. You're a class act, a great hunter, and I've enjoyed being around you, and looking forward to seeing you guys' success this year. So thanks for coming on and talking about Arizona sheep and deer, and we'll chat at you down the road, okay?
All right, Jay. Thanks so much for calling. I appreciate the opportunity and appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, and I do want to give you a chance to let the listeners know the best way to reach out to you, and I'll also put that up in the show notes for people as well.
Perfect. Yeah, you can contact me at 435-421-9463, or feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Parker_Fells. And feel free to call Clay as well. He's 435-680-2991. And he is out on the strip almost every day. So if you don't get him, just leave a message, and we're really good at getting back. So we'd welcome any questions or concerns.
Awesome, buddy. All right, buddy. Take care. God bless, okay?
All right. Thanks, Jay. See ya.
All right. Bye.